I 30F. Just found out my coworker's new fiance is a guy I ghosted 3 years ago, and I'm freaking out. Like, what are the odds? So I work as a marketing manager at this tech-adjacent company. Been there for about 4 years now, and honestly, I like it fine. The pay is decent, and the people are nice. I've had chances to move up, but they all involved, like, confronting partners and vendors about pricing and stuff, which, just not my thing. I'd rather just do my work and avoid the drama, you know? I'm not confrontational at all, which is important for this story. About 8 months ago, this woman, Megan, 28F, joined our marketing team. She's super confident and direct, basically my opposite lol. But we've actually become pretty good work friends. Like there was this time last year when I was apartment hunting and my potential landlord was being super sketchy about the deposit, and Megan literally called him for me and sorted the whole thing out in like 10 minutes. I would have just given up and found another place. That's what I always do when there's conflict. Ugh. But she told me she wasn't going to let him scam me and handled it. She's that kind of person. Oh, and I should mention I do go to therapy for anxiety stuff, but I'm really bad about it and cancel appointments when I'm stressed, which is exactly when I should be going. I know. My therapist probably thinks I'm a lost cause at this point, lol. Anyway, at our team meeting last week, Megan announced that she got engaged to her boyfriend Daniel, 32M. She was showing everyone pictures and going on about how she finally found someone loyal after getting screwed over in past relationships. Everyone was super excited for her, and then I saw his picture. You guys. Daniel is a guy I matched with on a dating app about 3 years ago. I literally felt my stomach drop when I saw his face. I almost spit out my coffee. Thank God I didn't. Would have ruined Lisa's new blouse, and OMG, that would have been another disaster. We texted for like weeks back then, had 2 really good dates, and seemed to be building an actual connection. I remember thinking he was different from other app guys. He actually asked questions and remembered stuff I told him. But here's the thing. At the time, I was recovering from a bad breakup. My ex of 2 years cheated with his coworker, classic, and my mom had just been diagnosed with this chronic illness. It's not life-threatening or anything, but still scary. I was just not in a good place emotionally. Then Daniel's dad got diagnosed with cancer, and he started reaching out to me for emotional support. And I just ghosted him completely. I ignored multiple messages where he was basically asking if he'd done something wrong. I think one of them was like, "Hey, did I say something to upset you?" And another was something like, "Just let me know you're okay." But I can't remember exactly. Looking back, I think I had undiagnosed anxiety and just couldn't handle any more emotional stuff. But still, I'm not the kind of person who ghosts people, I swear. I've never done anything like that before or since. Okay, wait, that's not entirely true. I did stop responding to this other guy once, but he was sending weird messages, so that doesn't count. But with Daniel, I just couldn't deal. And now he's engaged to my coworker. What are the odds? Seriously, in a city this big. So I decided not to say anything about knowing him. I mean, what good would it do? It would just make things awkward for everyone, especially Megan. Plus, I didn't want everyone at work knowing I'm the kind of person who ghosts someone when their dad has cancer. God, that sounds awful when I type it out. So I bought them this really expensive engagement gift, way more than I could afford to kind of ease my guilt, I guess. One of those fancy kitchen gadgets that costs like half my rent. My credit card is maxed out now. Megan was having this engagement party at this nice restaurant downtown last weekend and invited the whole team. I honestly thought about not going, but that would seem weird since we're friends. So I went. I know. I should have just made up an excuse, but I'm a terrible liar, and she would have known something was up. I got there early on purpose and sat at the far end of the table, hoping I could just blend in with everyone else. When Megan arrived, I gave her the gift and tried to sound super enthusiastic. I was like, "Oh, I'm so happy for you guys," which probably came off way too forced. She loved it and gave me this big hug, and I felt like the literal worst person on earth. Then Daniel arrived. The second he walked in and saw me, his smile just dropped, like completely. Megan introduced us and was like, "This is Olivia from work. She's the one who helped me with that presentation last month," or something similar. I can't remember her exact words. He shook my hand without even looking at me. I could feel how tense his hand was, like super stiff. The whole dinner was just uncomfortable. Every time I spoke, Daniel would just go completely silent. I noticed him whispering to his friends and looking my way a couple times. I kept thinking he was making way too big a deal about this. Like we only went on 2 dates, for God's sake. It's not like we were in a serious relationship or anything. But also, I did ghost him during a family crisis, so maybe I can't blame him, but still. At one point, someone asked about dating struggles, worst dinner topic ever, Badao, and I mentioned something vague about apps being difficult, and Daniel literally rolled his eyes. I was like, are you kidding me? But also, I get it. I probably seem like a hypocrite talking about dating being hard when I ghosted him, but he doesn't know my side of things. I couldn't take it anymore, so I made up some excuse about having a migraine and left early. As I was grabbing my coat, I overheard Megan telling someone, "You can always trust your gut about people," and my heart just stopped. Does she know? Was she talking about me? But she seemed normal when she said goodbye, so maybe I'm just being paranoid. My anxiety goes from 0 to 100 real quick sometimes. It's been a few weeks now, and I've been avoiding being alone with Megan at work. I keep making excuses to miss team lunches. Oh, I brought lunch from home. I didn't. Or, I have a call. I don't. My sister came to visit last week, and we got into this whole argument about stuff from when we were kids. She still thinks I stole her prom dress on purpose in 2009. I didn't. And I'd cake why I'm even mentioning this, except that I just generally suck at dealing with conflict, I guess. Like I literally hid in the bathroom for an hour to avoid finishing that conversation with her. The worst part is Megan keeps stopping by my desk to talk about wedding plans, like every day. She'll be like, "What do you think about these centerpieces?" And I'm sitting there trying not to have a panic attack. I feel like she's torturing me on purpose, but then I remind myself that she has no idea about me and Daniel. She's just excited about her wedding and talking to someone she considers a friend. God, I feel terrible. I'm honestly thinking about requesting a transfer to another department. Is that crazy? Am I overreacting? There's an opening in the content team, and I have some experience there. Maybe I should just avoid this whole situation. That's what I always do anyway. Avoid. But what if Daniel tells her, every day I come into work terrified that today's the day Megan finds out and everything explodes. I can't even enjoy my morning coffee anymore, and anyone who knows me knows that's like my whole thing. Edit. Some people are asking why I don't just tell Megan the truth. Are you kidding me? What would I even say? Hey, congrats on your engagement. Tao, I went on 2 dates with your fiancé 3 years ago and then ghosted him when his dad got cancer. Yeah, that would go over great. I'm not trying to get fired here. Now for the first update. Oh God, you guys. Everything's gotten so much worse since my last post. Like so much worse. It's been about a month since that horrible engagement party, and everything has basically gone to complete shit. So remember how I was worried Daniel might tell Megan about our history, if you can even call 2 dates a history? Well, about a week after the engagement party, I got a text from an unknown number that just said, "We should talk about what happened. Daniel." I felt sick when I saw it. I had to sit down in the middle of the hallway at work. I have no idea how he even got my number. Maybe he took it from Megan's phone or something. Anyway, I spent the entire weekend, like literally 48 hours straight, drafting and deleting responses. I wrote this super long explanation about how I was going through stuff with my mom's health and my ex cheating and blah blah blah, then deleted it. Then I wrote a super casual, "Sure, what's up?" like we were old friends or something. Then deleted that too. I think I wrote like 37 different messages. I was super anxious. I finally just sent, "Okay, coffee at Bluebird Cafe tomorrow at 2, and then immediately threw my phone. He just replied, "I'll be there." Side note, I've lost like 5 pounds in the last few weeks because my stomach has been so messed up from stress. I know that's not relevant, but whatever. My jeans fit better, I guess. Silver lining. Actually, that's terrible. Forget I said that. Anyway, I actually convinced myself that Daniel probably barely remembered our brief thing and was just annoyed that I didn't say anything at the engagement party. I don't overthink social situations at all. That's sarcasm. I overthink everything. I literally played out like 14 different versions of the conversation in my head, including one where he confessed he was still in love with me, which is ridiculous because 1, we barely knew each other, and 2, he's engaged to my coworker. My brain is the worst sometimes. So the day of the coffee meeting comes, and I showed up like 20 minutes early, because of course I did. I picked this table way in the back corner. I ordered a latte, but couldn't even drink it because I felt sick. Daniel walked in looking way more serious than he did at the engagement party, and he didn't even order anything, which honestly made me panic more because it meant he wasn't planning to stay long. He sat down and just stared at me for what felt like forever, probably like 10 seconds, but still. Then he asked, "Do you understand what you did to me?" His voice was so, I don't know, flat, cold. I immediately went into defense mode and was like, we only went on 2 dates. It wasn't like we were serious or anything, which was clearly the wrong thing to say because his face just hardened. Then he told me how bad ghosting him made him feel. He was already dealing with his dad's cancer diagnosis at the time I disappeared. He kept checking his phone during hospital visits, hoping I'd respond. He said it gave him trust issues that affected his relationships afterward. I tried to apologize, I really did. I started saying I'm so sorry, I was going through some stuff too with my mom, but he cut me off and said, "It's convenient to be sorry now, isn't it?" Which, fair, but also harsh. At one point I thought maybe the reason he was so upset was because he had actually really liked me. Maybe he still had feelings or something, which is insane, I know. But then, he said very clearly that he had no feelings for me and was just trying to resolve this hurt so he could move on with Megan. Just to be 100% clear for anyone reading this, I do not have feelings for Daniel. At all. This is purely about the awkwardness of the situation. Then he said something that surprised me. He suggested we shouldn't tell Megan about this because she's been through enough with disloyal people. And I was relieved. So relieved. I felt my body relax for the first time in weeks. I probably said yes, way too enthusiastically, because he gave me this look that was disappointed, like he was hoping I'd disagree. Looking back now, I think maybe he was testing me. Maybe he wanted me to say, "No, we should tell her the truth." But in the moment, I was just so happy to have an out that I didn't question it. He stood up to leave and told me he hadn't forgiven me and was only doing this for Megan, not for me. Then he just left. The whole conversation took maybe 15 minutes. I sat there for another hour just trying to process everything. Then I went to this bakery I love and ate 3 entire pastries in my car while crying on the phone to my sister. Not my proudest moment, lol. The next 2 weeks at work were awful. Daniel started coming by the office more often to have lunch with Megan, and he would literally greet everyone except me. He'd walk in and be like, "Hey Lisa, hey Mark, hey Jessica," and then just pretend I wasn't there. Which, fine, whatever, I get it. I'm totally fine with the situation. I'm not fine. I'm literally having panic attacks in the bathroom almost daily. But then things got so much worse. Our team had this happy hour thing last Friday. I almost didn't go, but my manager basically said everyone needed to be there for team bonding or whatever. We were all a few drinks in when someone started talking about dating app horror stories. This guy Kevin was like, "Ghosting is the worst thing someone can do though. Am I right?" And everyone was nodding and agreeing. I was literally sinking lower in my chair, praying for the floor to swallow me whole, when I noticed Daniel getting super uncomfortable. He abruptly changed the subject to something about sports, which was super obvious. And Megan, who's the most perceptive person ever, immediately picked up on it. She put her hand on his arm and asked if someone had ghosted him. He just mumbled something I couldn't hear and excused himself to the bathroom. But I could feel Megan watching me. When I looked at her, she was staring right at me with this calculating expression. The next morning at work, Megan wouldn't even look at me. She's normally super chatty in the morning, always stopping by my desk to talk about random stuff, but she just ignored me completely. By afternoon, I was a nervous wreck, convinced she knew everything. Then it happened. I was in the break room getting coffee, my 3rd cup, because anxiety, when Megan walked in. There were 3 other people in there too. She stood right in front of me and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "So when were you going to tell me that you and Daniel dated?" I almost dropped my mug. I stammered something like, "We didn't actually date," but she cut me off. "He told me everything, Olivia. How you two went out for months, and then you just disappeared when his dad got sick. What kind of person does that? And then you pretend not to know him at our engagement party. Have you been watching us this whole time? Is that why you always ask about our relationship? We did not go out for months. It was 2 dates. And I don't always ask about their relationship. She's the one constantly talking about wedding plans. I tried to explain, but my throat closed up and I couldn't get the words out. Everyone in the break room was just staring at us. I finally managed to say it was just 2 dates, not a relationship, but Megan just scoffed and walked out. By the end of the day, the entire office knew, and somehow the story kept changing. I overheard someone saying I had stalked Daniel after we broke up. What? The office basically split into 2 camps. People who think I should have disclosed knowing Daniel from the beginning, and people who think Megan is overreacting about something that happened years ago. This guy, Mark, who I've always thought was kind of a jerk, kept making these jokes about me being the one that got away, and asking if I was trying to steal him back. He thought he was being supportive, but it just made everything so much worse. Even Sophia, who I thought was my friend, pulled me aside and said she found it kind of creepy that I hadn't said anything about knowing Daniel. If it wasn't a big deal, why hide it? She asked. I didn't have a good answer. Megan has started excluding me from meetings and projects. Like, she'll literally schedule team discussions when she knows I have conflicts. She makes these little digs when we're forced to work together. Stuff like, I guess commitment isn't your strong suit, or at least I know you're good at disappearing when things get tough. And now I found out that HR is involved because Megan filed a complaint about an uncomfortable work environment focused on my dishonesty. My manager pulled me aside yesterday and suggested I fix this situation while heavily implying that my upcoming performance review might suffer if I don't. Great. Oh, and the cherry on top of this shit sundae. I found out through office gossip that Daniel's been telling people we had a 3-month relationship. He's apparently added all these details that never happened, like how I met his friends and we were talking about getting more serious when I ghosted him. None of that happened. We went on 2 dates. We kissed once, and just when I thought things couldn't get worse, I learned today that Megan has been assigned to lead the company's biggest annual marketing campaign, the one my manager had basically promised Emmy months ago, the one I've been working toward for a year. I don't know what to do anymore. This is like my worst nightmare. I can't transfer departments because there aren't any openings right now. I can't quit because I need the money, and I can't confront them because, well, you all know why. Now for the second update. Wow, so I just realized it's been like 8 months since my last update. Kind of ironic, I basically ghosted you all considering how this whole thing started. Sorry about that. A lot has happened, and honestly, I've been avoiding dealing with this situation in typical Olivia fashion. Shocker, I know. So I guess I should probably explain why I'm so conflict avoidant, since so many people asked. My parents were basically the world champions of pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. When I was like 12, my dad lost his job, and instead of telling us, my parents just kept acting like everything was normal for months while secretly selling stuff to pay bills. We'd come home and be like, "Where's the second TV?" And they'd be like, "Oh, we moved it to the basement. We didn't have a basement." This went on till my dad finally got another job, and they admitted what happened. So yeah, I basically learned that the proper way to handle problems is to just not. Anyway, after my last post, things at work got so much worse. Megan started telling people we had been in this serious relationship and that I'd been stalking Daniel's social media for years, which is completely insane because 1, we went on 2 dates, and 2, I literally deleted all dating apps after ghosting him and never looked him up anywhere. Like, ever. But whatever. Our whole team dynamic was just awful. Projects started falling apart because Megan wouldn't communicate with me. We missed a deadline on this big campaign because she forgot to include me in 3 planning meetings. My manager kept giving me these disappointed looks like I was the problem. It was a nightmare. Oh, and I got a cat during all this. His name is Cheese because he's orange, and he's basically the only reason I maintained any kind of routine during this chaos. Nothing like a creature screaming at you for food at 6 a.m. to get you out of bed when you're depressed. He's sitting on my keyboard right now, making this harder to type, lol. So in the middle of all this work mess, my brother got married. I was maid of honor, but managed to get out of giving a speech because I had a sore throat. I didn't. I just couldn't stand up in front of 200 people and talk about love when my work life was falling apart. My mom was so disappointed. She kept saying, "But you're so good with words." I'm not. And then Daniel and Megan got married. Yep, It was this small ceremony, but they invited basically our entire team except me. I wasn't hurt about not being invited. Why would they invite me? Lol. But I still cried in my car for like an hour after seeing all the wedding photos everyone was sharing in our work chat. Lisa kept going on about what an amazing ceremony it was and how they wrote the most beautiful vows, and I just, Around this time, this guy from accounting, Kevin, who I'm kind of friends with, warned me that Megan was basically building a case to get me fired. He overheard her talking to our director about my unprofessional behavior and inability to work as part of a team. So I started documenting everything, every email, every meeting, every time she excluded me from something work-related. I even started recording our in-person conversations, which is legal in my state, Batao. I also started noticing some weird stuff between Megan and Daniel. He would come by the office for lunch dates, and sometimes I'd see them having these intense whispered arguments. Once I overheard her accusing him of looking too long at Jessica from sales. It was awkward, completely unrelated, but my mom had this health scare during all this, where they thought she might have this rare autoimmune thing, but it turned out to be an allergic reaction to her new medication. I spent like 3 days in the hospital with her, and Megan told everyone I was skipping work to avoid responsibilities when my mother was in the hospital. Then our company announced this restructuring thing where they were creating a new senior position in our department. Both Megan and I were the top candidates. We had to prepare these portfolios showing all our work and contributions for the past year. And while I was putting mine together, I realized something. Megan had been taking credit for my work on like 5 different campaigns. There was this social media strategy that I completely developed, and she was presenting it as her idea in team meetings. Now, typical Olivia would have just let it go and found another job, but something in me just snapped. I think it was the combination of therapy and the absolute unfairness of everything. Instead of confronting her directly, still working on that part, lol, I just methodically gathered evidence. Every email where I proposed the original ideas, statistics showing how team performance had declined under her leadership, documentation of all the times she excluded me from meetings, and I even managed to recover some of the original dating app conversations with Daniel, thank God for Google data backups, that proved we only went on 2 dates, not the 3-month relationship he was claiming. I know this makes me sound vindictive, but honestly, I was just standing up for myself for once. But also, I was definitely a little bit vindictive. I mean, can you blame me? The day of the promotion review meeting comes. All the department heads are there, plus someone from HR. Megan gives her presentation first, taking credit for all these campaigns she barely worked on. Then, during the Q&A portion, she starts talking about how I've been undermining her out of some weird obsession with my husband. The HR person asked me to respond, and I just didn't defend myself. Instead, I methodically went through my documentation. I showed them the emails proving I had led the campaigns she claimed. I showed them the statistics about declining performance. I showed them evidence of her systematically excluding me from meetings. And then, I did something I probably shouldn't have. I pulled up the actual dating app conversation history with Daniel, proving we only went on 2 dates and that he was the one who reached out multiple times after I ghosted him, not the other way around. The department head asked Megan to explain the discrepancies, and she started saying everything was out of context and that I was manipulating information. The HR rep tried to suggest continuing the discussion privately, but our senior director, who I've always liked, was like, no, this affects team dynamics that we need to address now. The fallout was intense. I got the promotion. Megan got put on a performance improvement plan. Daniel showed up at the office the next day, screaming about how I was trying to ruin their marriage, which honestly just made everything worse for Megan. Some of my coworkers have apologized to me for believing Megan's version of events. Others still keep their distance, like I'm the office villain. Megan and Daniel are still together, but you can literally feel how uncomfortable it is when he visits now. The worst part is Megan is still telling people I've always been obsessed with Daniel, despite all the evidence to the contrary. I overheard her in the break room last week telling Sophia I probably engineered this whole situation, which is just, what? How? Am I supposed to have orchestrated a random encounter with someone I ghosted 3 years ago? Make it make sense. Oh God, I almost forgot to mention, My apartment had this major plumbing issue last month where my upstairs neighbor's toilet literally leaked through my ceiling. It destroyed my couch, and I had to stay in a hotel for 4 days. Completely irrelevant, but just another thing that happened during this nightmare period. I'm getting better at standing up for myself, but direct confrontation is still really hard. And yeah, I still feel guilty about ghosting Daniel when his dad was sick. That was a crappy thing to do. But does it justify the months of workplace harassment and lies? No, absolutely not. I'm totally over the situation now. Okay, that's a lie. I'm obviously not over it since I'm writing this novel-length post analyzing every interaction. Last week, at this company social event, Megan came up to me when I was alone getting a drink. I thought maybe finally we were going to clear the air or something. Instead, she just leaned in and whispered, "He still talks about you sometimes," and then walked away. And I'm just like, is that even true? Or is she just trying to mess with my head one last time? I don't know. I'm still at the company with my fancy new promotion, but I've started looking at positions elsewhere. Some relationships are just too damaged to repair, you know. Anyway, that's my update. I didn't ghost you guys this time. Progress.